All right, so we are actually on problem solving today. We are finishing up chapter 10. We just did circumference, and that's the last thing that I'm going to do in chapter 10. We skipped over lines of symmetry and transformations because those are a little bit harder to do remotely. So we're just going to go right to problem solving on page 348, 349 today. So unfortunately you can't do it in partners since we're not in class, but I still wanted you to do the problem solving today. So I'm going to go through a couple examples in your book with you, and then I'm going to go through every single problem on your homework to make your homework a little bit easier for you today. So if we take a look at page 348 and the problem solving example there, it talks about a steeple shaped like a square pyramid is on top of a building. The dimensions of the pyramid are shown in the diagram. Find the perimeter of one triangular face of the steeple. So we have to find the perimeter of one of the triangles. Well, when I look at the triangle on that steeple, I'm going to turn this so I can draw my triangle. When I'm looking at that triangle, I have the exact measurements. This side is 320 feet. This side is 220 feet. And this side is 320 feet also. And they want to know the perimeter. Well, we talked about perimeter already, and we know on perimeter, all we have to do is add up the three sides to get the perimeter. So in this particular example, I'm just going to have to add 320, 320, 220, 2, 4, 6, 3, 6, 8. So I know the perimeter is going to be 860 feet. Not too bad on that one. The very first page there, 348. Now, you have maybe one or two that are pretty straightforward like that, but a lot of them, like how they like to word things in our problem solving. So I want to skip over to, let's do number 2, actually, on page 349. I don't really like number 1, so let's just take a look at number 2. It says the perimeter of a gazebo floor shaped like a regular octagon is 96 feet. So we know an octagon has 8 sides. It has the word octo right in it, so we know it has 8 sides. So a gazebo floor is shaped like a regular octagon. We have a gazebo out in our parking lot at the school. That's what a gazebo is, but this particular one has an octagon shape, so it's got 8 sides. And we know the perimeter, they've already added it up, and it's 96 feet. So they want to know the length of one side. Well, I know that when I do perimeter, I have to add up all the sides. So in this case, I would add up all 8 sides. All the sides would be the same since it's a regular octagon. Well, I already know the perimeter is 96. They already told me that. The perimeter was 96 feet, and I want to know what each side equals. Well, I also know that there are 8 sides in an octagon. I know that too. So I know in order for me to find the perimeter, I would have had to do side times something equals, side times 8 equals 96 feet. I know that too, because they already gave me what the perimeter was. So this is what I'm trying to figure out. What did I multiply by 8 to get to 96? Well, I can do backward math, just like I showed you the day we did perimeter. I can just do 96 divided by 8. If I do 96 divided by 8, I'm going to know exactly what each side equals. 8 can go into 9 one time. 8 times 1 is 8. I subtract, I get 1. I'm going to bring down. 8 can go into 16 2 times. Multiply, subtract. There is nothing to bring down. So I know that each side on this one is going to be 12 feet. Not too bad. Homework's not too bad today. So let's take a look at your assignment. Make sure, as I'm going through this with you, that you're taking notes. What you see me doing, I want you to write it right on your homework assignment because it's going to make your assignment a lot easier. So let's take a look at your assignment here. Let me get it on here because I'm going to go through each one and I'm going to give you some helps to make this a little bit easier for you. So make sure you are writing down what I'm writing down to make this a little bit easier when you're solving these. So if we take a look at number 1, it says a design on a flag includes an isosceles triangle. Remember, an isosceles triangle, 2 sides were the same, 1 side was different. The length of one side of the triangle is 2 inches long. The length of each of the other sides is 2 1/4 inches. What is the perimeter of the triangle? Well, when we do perimeter, guys, all we have to do is add up the sides. So we're gonna add these up. Now, since we're adding fractions and a whole number, I'm gonna write it to the side. I'm gonna do 2 1/4. Well, there's 2 of those. Remember, the length of each of the other sides. I know there's 3 sides in a triangle, and so there's 2 of those that were 2 1/4. And then I have just 2. Well, I know that 2 is the same as having 0/4. Now, the great news here is they're already same denominators. So when I'm adding fractions, I'm going to add up my fractions first. Remember, the denominator stays the same because they're already the same. And then I'm going to add up my whole numbers. Now, I am going to make sure that my fraction's in simplest form when I'm done. And I'm also going to make sure that I have a label. Label. All of these are going to get labels. You might go back up to the top and write yourself a note so you don't forget your label. Okay? We know when math problems have words, our answers have words. All right, so make sure you have that written for number 1. 2 1/4 plus 2 1/4 plus 2 0/4. That's going to give you your perimeter on number 1. All right, number 2 looks a little bit harder, but if you just listen to what's going on here, not so bad. A tile floor design consists of a square with an equilateral triangle attached to each side. We can see that here. Here's a square, and each side has an equilateral triangle. Equilateral, remember, all sides are equal. If one side of the square measures 5 centimeters, what is the perimeter of the design? So I know that this right here is 5 centimeters, okay? So what I know is, since this is a square, I know that this is 5, and this is 5, and this is 5, and this is 5. And I know that the equilateral triangle has to have all sides the same. So since this is 5, I know this is 5, and this is 5, and this is 5. So I have to add all those up. So what I'm going to do to make my life easier, I'm going to count how many total sides this figure has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 sides to this guy. 12. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I know there are 12 sides, and each side is 5 centimeters. Now I could do 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. I don't want to do that. I'm going to multiply those two numbers. I'm going to multiply 12 times 5, and it's going to give me my perimeter with a label. Write that down. I wrote down the 5. I told you how to do it. Write down right now what you need to do on that. All right, number 3. A garden has the shape of a regular hexagon. Hexagon, guys, I'm going to put a little arrow here, and I'm going to write a 6, because that's how many sides a hexagon has. If the perimeter of the garden is 138 feet, what is the length of one side of the garden? This is exactly like the example I just showed you out of your book on number 2. We already know what the perimeter is. We already know it. So we have to figure out 6 times what equals 138 feet. That's exactly how we just did that. 6 times what equals 138 feet. I know that that's what it has to be. 6 times side is going to equal 138 feet. I already know the perimeter. So I have to figure out this missing number. Well, the easiest way to do that is if I divide 138 divided by 6. It's going to give me exactly what each side is with my label. Write that down. 138 divided by 6, and then you're going to have to solve it. Make sure you label. Number 4, 2 of the angle measures for a triangle are 54 and 35. What is the measure of the third angle? Oh, I remember this. Angle plus angle plus angle equals 360. We know no matter what size a triangle is, it equals 360 degrees, no matter what. So I know angle plus angle plus angle equals 360. So I'm just going to write 54, 35. I don't know my third one. So that's going to be a 2 separ. I have to add up what I do have, and then I have to subtract it from this, and that's going to give me my missing angle. Make sure you write that down so you don't forget when you get to number 4. Number 5, parallelogram. They've got a picture for this one too right next door. Parallelogram PQRS has 2 pairs of congruent sides. The perimeter is 190, so I already know the perimeter equals 190. If the length of PQ is 20 centimeters, what is the length of QR? All right, so they just told me right here, PQ, this one right here, is 20 centimeters. I'm going to label that to help me out here. Now, what I also know is this and this are congruent because it's a parallelogram. I can see that too. It tells me right here, PQ is parallel to R. So I know if this is 20 centimeters, I know that this is 20 centimeters. Okay, I know those 2 things. Now, I don't know what these are. I do know they're going to be the exact same though. No matter what this is going to be, they're going to be the same. I know that PS is congruent to QR, so they have to have the same length. Now, they want to know what the length of just this is. What's the length of QR? Well, I don't know. What I do know is that the perimeter equals 190. That's what I know. I also know that this side and this side equal 40. This side and this side equal 40. So I know whatever this side and this side together would have to be added to 40 to get to 190. But I only need to know one side. So once I know what those are, I only need one side of that. So that's how you're going to figure that. That's how I would figure it out. I would do 190 minus 40. Whatever you have left, you need to divide it by 2, and that will give you the length of one side. Write that down right now. 190 minus 40. Whatever your answer is, you need to divide that by 2. And you know you can have a mixed number. It's not unheard of. Okay, number 6. A circular swimming pool has a diameter of 28 feet. Find the circumference. We just did circumference, so I know I have the diameter. I'm using the diameter formula. C equals pi times diameter, and that's going to give you what it is, okay? So you're just going to fill in the numbers there. You can use 3.14 on this one. You could actually use 22/7. Actually, I don't care which one you use because that looks like that would be easy to cross reduce too. So you can choose. You can choose pi as 3.14 times the diameter, or you can do pi as 22/7 times the diameter. Whichever one you found easier, pick that one. Either way, you're going to be right. I won't count it wrong. And then you definitely need a label, feet. And then finally on number 7, the perimeter of a yard shaped like a regular octagon, we know octagon, 8 sides, is 24 feet. What is the length of one side of the yard? Exactly like we did on number 3. We have to divide. We already know what the perimeter is. The perimeter is 24. I also know that there were 8 sides. So I needed to know what each side was. So I'm going to divide the perimeter divided by how many sides there were, and that's going to give me my answer with a label. Write that down so you know what you're doing there. All right, guys, I gave you help for all 7 of these. Hopefully you wrote down exactly what I said, then it shouldn't be any problem getting them solved. Good luck.